Cool. So day 7, this is the third day that we've been discussing and studying and practicing what I call directional breathing. And so just to summarize the lessons, the last 2 lessons, there are 7 directions that you can experience fairly easily um, inside every inhale and inside every exhale. As we breathe in, these 7 directions are: the torso and the abdomen inflate from front to back, 1 and 2, from left to right, 3 and 4, and then from top to bottom, right? So the torso and the spine increase vertically, 5 and 6. And then the 7th direction is specific to the inhale. As you breathe in, the internal physiology of breath and air and tissue runs from the face, right? You inhale through your nose or through your mouth, but you should all be breathing through your nose. It runs in and then down. And so these are the 7 directions. That downward movement of the inhale is associated to the descent of consciousness to yogis and meditators. And so the beauty of a meditative mind, which is something I really encourage you to get into and to thread into at least your practice, these ideas really do change the way you interact with the world. Ideas, the mind, is just as real as the physiology or the matter or the experience or the environment. That to most modern people, for whatever reason, instinctually feels more real. And so when we can appreciate the mental dimension and the conceptual dimension of our practice as much as the physiology, it's a stepping stone to, in time, appreciating that inner experience of quiet or peace as equally real, as equally true, compared to, the things that we all agree upon of as real. And so that's just sort of like a way to lean into spirituality. Exhales, similar but different. As you exhale, the torso shrinks from front to back, it shrinks from left to right, and instead of naturally shrinking from top to bottom, we slump as we exhale. I want you to maintain that vertical. And then that 7th direction, again, is opposite compared to the inhale. The internal physiology, the breath and the air, runs or moves from the bottom of the torso and the abdomen up through the chest, out the throat, and out the face. And so inhales run down, exhales run up. The idea associated to this, the exhale is called the nether life breath. Consciousness rises back to wherever it came from. And yogis is mystics, yogis is sort of, religiously oriented. They believe consciousness returns to something like heaven or something like the divine. And a way to anchor that into like a really, practical and realistic sense, exhaling is the last thing we're all going to do on this planet as like living mortal creatures. And, the idea that this is the nether life breath is appropriate. Cool. So 3rd day integration, you're going to do about 20 minutes of this directional breathing on your own without my guidance to recover your own understandings and to overcome your own obstacles. I've gotten a few questions, specific questions about, how to conduct yourself when you're in your practice. And I just want to go over these very quickly in case, these difficulties or these little lapses of confusion are present for you. 1, if saliva is building up in your mouth because I've told you to be still and not move, and you're taking that very literally, so you don't want to swallow, take the time to swallow. But if saliva is building up, that's a good sign. It suggests that you are actually relaxing your body in a profound way, that the parasympathetic nervous system is firing, which is responsible for digestion. And saliva is one of the preemptive biological mechanisms to generate digestion. So if saliva is building up, it means your body's actually very, very relaxed. But do just take the time to swallow mindfully. Second thing is, if you start to slump through your posture, the elbows are found to have bent, the spine has been found all of a sudden to have collapsed, mindfully readjust. But what this means is, as present as you thought you were, somewhere along the way you lost contact with your body, with your arms, with your spine, and unbeknownst to you, the intention of posture dissolved. And so while it's not necessary, it's don't take it Don't take it too intensely to maintain this tall spine and these straight arms, but do commit to it and consider that one day you will retain your presence so much so that the only way that your body will move while you're in your practice is because you yourself have moved it. And I think that's about it. With all of that, swallow your saliva if it builds up, adjust your posture if it's wilted, feel these 7 directions, and let's get into this today. Again, good work. This is day 7, right? We're moving right along. And so in a couple breaths, for sure, close your eyes and build that posture. Tilt your hips forward. Feel the torso lift. If you're seated on the floor, tighten the cross of your legs, meaning pull your feet deeper into the groin and inner thighs. And that contraction should create buoyancy inside the belly. Arms are very, very straight, straighter today than they've ever been. Spread your fingers wide for a moment and then bring a random finger to each thumb. Again, remember the grain of sand. Shut your jaw, press your tongue into the back of your 2 front teeth. Chin tucks in, decompress the base of the skull. Now slow down your breath. For the beginning portion of your solo practice, your integration day, take the time to fine-tune your sensitivity. Really feel these 7 directions. Track them one at a time. Can I feel my torso as I breathe in, inflate forwards? And once you can, check. I can feel that. Can I feel my torso as I breathe in, inflate backwards? Once you can, check. Left to right, check. Top to bottom, check. And as you breathe in, can you really feel the air moving down into your lungs and diaphragm contracting and expanding down into your belly, and pressure build into your belly, downward movement? Can I feel that? Check. And the same is true with the exhale. The idea is this: the greater your ability to focus, the less you will think about yourself. And this is biologically true. You are activating something called the task-oriented network, a system inside the brain. The more active this system is, the less your brain considers self, the less your brain thinks about other people. And what this proves is that our stress, our struggle, our suffering, it's tethered to the expectations, tethered to the insecurities that we hold against our own being. The more you can feel these 7 directions, the less you will exist. And that, for whatever reason, is liberating. All right, good work. One last instruction. Breathe a little bit more slowly. Give everything to your focus. I'm going to chime back in 20 minutes. Slow down the breath. And so, one, acknowledge that you are within yourself. It feels like that. You're interocepting, meaning you're attempting to feel in greater degrees of lucidity the experience of your inner body. And that internalizes awareness. You're looking away from the world and into yourself. So again, acknowledge in this moment you are within. And that's valuable. Now the game is focus. And the obvious challenge to focus is distraction. But what is distracting? I'd like you to consider that you are distracting yourself. The entertainment value of your thoughts, of your worries, of your plans, of your hopes, of your fantasies. The entertainment value of your opinions, of what you feel and what you hear and what you think. You are the distraction. And so the game of focus is a game of sacrifice. You have to sacrifice the entertainment of thought. But more deeply than that, you have to sacrifice yourself. And again, in the spirit of balance, all we do is think about ourselves. And learning how to not creates equanimity and harmony within our lives. And so let the glory of that effort, let me sacrifice myself. Let the glory of that effort boost your willingness to focus now. Focus on what? The 7 directions of your inhales, the 7 directions of your exhales. The door to the mind is the body. And by controlling the body, we eventually gain control over the mind. Notice that your stillness and your posturing wakes you up. And so take a second very gradually to straighten out the spine, straighten out the arms, and broaden the chest. And so as you internalize your mind through this practice, you are internalizing into an environment that is awake versus numb, is illuminated versus dark. Now your breathing calms you down. These 7 directions optimize your breath as a tool that generates tranquility. And so you need to feel that, not as an idea, but as sensation. And so as you internalize your mind into your body through this practice, you are also internalizing into a world, an environment, and an experience that is peaceful. And the last ingredient, the last step is this focus, which involves sacrificing the self, honoring these 7 directions, making a technique out of breath, making an art form out of breathing, gives a mind that is intrigued by complexity and captivated by patterns. It gives a mind something to do, something to sink its teeth into, something to perfect, something to build. And so now, as you internalize the mind into a body, a world, a reality, a cocoon of sensations that is at once awake and tranquil, through this focus, you disappear, and all that remains is this enlivened peace. Nirvana, the extinguishing of self, the illumination of balance. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Take 3 more breaths, a lot slower than you've been breathing, and work to feel these 3 gears moving in unison. Wakefulness, tranquility, and the absence of self through focus. Now mindfully bring your hands to heart center, palms pressing in front of your chest, something like a prayer, but at the same time, lengthen the spine, drag the shoulder blades down, and immediately boost your sincerity. Consider that at this point, with all the work behind you, now your body is primed to meditate powerfully. This is the climax. And so embrace your humanity right now, meaning you are mortal. You are born and you will pass, meaning the experience of your existence won't last forever. That makes most of us very grateful for the time that we have. The next thing to appreciate is that as a mortal creature that is born and dies, as all creatures do, you love life and you fear its end. And inside that, there is the imminence of suffering and stress. This is the Buddha's first noble truth, and it's here right now. Impatience is suffering. Doubt is suffering. Confusion is suffering. But to acknowledge it is a momentous act. The third key idea to appreciate is that this thing that I am, this thing that you are, is still mystery. It still has to be opened and explored. And meditation is how we directly tackle that mystery. Now we're adding to the closing ritual a bit more esoteric, a bit more symbolic. So notice if there is resistance or embarrassment, even if you're by yourself. Lift your thumb knuckles to the center of your forehead, and again, lengthen the spine. And so you're pressing your thumbs into the skin of your forehead. So this represents Agna Chakra, third eye. What is the third eye? It is your consciousness. And your sentience, your awareness literally exists in the tissue behind your skull, right here, the center of the forehead, prefrontal cortex. And so this closing moment, we're just getting into the technicality of what meditation is as an exercise that boosts this focus. Feel the pressure of your thumb knuckles on the skin of your forehead. And try to differentiate between the left thumb knuckle and the right thumb knuckle. Become specific. Now feel yourself trying to clench into that focus, like lifting something that's too heavy. You can sort of do it, but not entirely. Let's take one more breath in. Focusing, focusing, focusing. One more breath out. Feel the 7 directions. Release your wrists back to your knees. Try to retain this amplified sense of focus and presence. And with your next inhale, as the eyes open, I'm no longer meditating. Hold your stillness for a second, and with open eyes, take a breath in, feel those 7 directions. And as you exhale, 7 directions.